Right, I think we are live. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining me. And as always, please let me know if you can hear me and you can see me okay. Welcome to this month's Gaming Rules Live Q&A. So I do these on the last Wednesday of every month. And today is actually the last day of the month as well. So this one's obviously a little bit later because just the way that the month has fallen. The format of this is going to be the same as normal. I'm going to be, first of all, going through all of the questions that I've been asked in advance on my Board Game Geek Guild. So hello to everybody who has joined today. Thank you very much for joining in. And yes, I for those who don't know, I have a guild on Board Game Geek. If you want to go on there and join, Vicky's going to post a link in the chat now. It's guild number 2258 on Board Game Geek. And as well as posting a few things on there, various discussion points, every month I put up a thread in advance of these Q&As for people to ask questions in advance. That's what I'm going to be going through first. That is going to probably take me the first 30 minutes of this Q&A. So if you have any questions for me and you are watching this live, please don't ask them right now, okay? Unless you can't stick around. If you can only stick around for 10 or 15 minutes or so, then feel free to ask them now. But if you can put the word question in capital letters and then put your question afterwards. But I would ask you, if you are going to stick around for at least 30, 40 minutes or so, please don't ask the questions just yet. We will get to the live questions later on. Do you have to go to BGG? Yes, you do. Right, okay. So, yeah, I'm going to start by going through the questions. We do have a contest. I'll mention the contest as well. Every month, Games Law, the UK's largest specialist games retailer, they give me £25 worth of vouchers to give away. So thank you very much, Games Law, for your support. I will be announcing the contest later on in the stream. So, off we go then. First question is from Rob Bob. He's actually got a few questions, one of which I'm not going to answer. The first one is, what game do I enjoy that you wish had an expansion? Which is a good question because I am a sort of, I'm 50-50 about expansions, right? There are certain games which come out which an expansion is, oh, this is great, right? And this really adds to the game and it improves it. But an expansion for me sometimes is unnecessary. So if I've got a base game and I really enjoy that base game, for me, an expansion is like, oh, something else I'm going to have to get. And I understand expansions from an industry point of view. I understand that they sell well. And I also understand that expansions can improve games. But sometimes expansions are just more content and you don't even have the time to get through the base game content. So I have got a number of games in my collection where I've got expansions for them that I'm thinking, do I really need this expansion? Because I haven't played the base game enough yet, and the expansion is just providing me more content that I don't have time to get round to. Anyway, if there is some games, and feel free to answer this question in the chat as well. If you've got a game that you think an expansion would be great for, then feel free to put that in the chat. For me, the first one that came to mind is Star Wars Outer Rim. And the reason that one came to mind is when that game came out, the main criticism of it was that there isn't enough content and it needs an expansion. And I wasn't of that opinion. I thought the base game of Star Wars Outer Rim was absolutely fine. An expansion would be nice. But a lot of people said that the base game is no good. It needs an expansion. We've already run out of content. And I'm like, I've played it 4 or 5 times. Sure, you see some of the same cards now and again, but you see that with all games. So I don't think it needs an expansion. Would I like to have an expansion for it? Yes, I definitely would. The next question, I started answering this one, but this is a question which I'm going to put actually on my BGG guild. So as soon as this live Q&A is finished, if I remember, you can remind me, I'm going to post a thread on my BGG guild for everybody else to contribute to this question, because I think it's one of those questions. And this is 3 people who you would most like to play a game with, and what would the game be? Okay, so I had a bit of a think about this and I wasn't able to answer it fully. So I want a bit more time myself to answer this question, but I'm going to put it on the guild. So any of you can post on there. You can't post there now because I haven't created it, but keep an eye on the guild. Sometime later on tonight or tomorrow if I forget, I will post that thread on there and we can start a good guild discussion about what 3 people would you like to invite to a game, what game would it be and why. Okay, so we'll get back to that question later on. The next question, this is all from Rob Bob, is what is an older game prior to 2016, which is on my playlist and I haven't yet played. Now, thankfully, a guy called Lee contacted me over Facebook a few days ago, actually. He was watching one of my earlier videos where I was struggling to find out what year a game was released, because I've got all my collection on BGG, and I wanted to know, every year I do a top 10 games of the games that were released in a particular year. Not the ones that I played, but were released in a particular year. And I was finding it difficult to get that information out of BGG, i.e. the year it was released. The information is in there, but I couldn't get it. And this guy called Lee contacted me and told me how to do it. And I actually used that today. So today I went into BGG, I went through my whole collection, and I looked at games that I have that came out prior to 2016, which I haven't yet played. And I thought, there's not going to be any of these. And there was. And I'm going to read through them now. So games in my collection prior to 2016 that I have not yet played. So the first one is Ginkgopolis. Now, to be fair, I have only just got a copy of Ginkgopolis. I got the new version, but on BGG, it's down as being released in 2012. I haven't played it yet. I now have a copy of the new version, so that's on my list. Porta Nigra from 2015. Got it from the Essen when it came out, and unfortunately, it just was one of those that didn't get played, and years have gone by, and it still hasn't got played. Adventureland from Haber. Now, I only just got that a year and a half ago, but that came out in 2015. I've not played that yet. Wildcatters. I have the second edition of Wildcatters. Now, the first edition came out in 2013. The second edition, I believe, is a lot better. I just haven't got around to playing it yet. Murano, 2014. I still haven't played Murano. And I have a copy of Nui Heimat, if that's how you pronounce it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games that I have in my collection. Which of those am I most looking forward to playing? To be honest, probably Ginkgopolis. Of that list is probably the one that I'm going to play next. Yeah, there we go. Right, okay. David said he's played Porta Nigra and Adventureland quite a bit. Right, let me know on Slack if they're any good. Next question's from Richie Oliver. So Richie Oliver tuned in when I did a Mage Knight live playthrough a number of months ago. And one of the questions that cropped up while I was in the middle of the live playthrough was, so somebody in the chat, it wasn't Richie who asked me this, but Richie was asking it back later. Sorry, he was watching the video back later. And in the live video, somebody asked me the question, what I thought about Star Trek Frontiers. Now, I didn't really want to answer that at the time because I was literally in the middle of a live playthrough of Mage Knight. So I said, that's a good question for a live Q&A. And months later, thank you very much, Richie, for watching that video and now posting the question here. So I have a lot to say about Star Trek Frontiers. For those people who don't know, I was professionally involved with the Mage Knight game. So I had nothing to do with the design of the original game. I made one slight suggestion to the tweak of one of the rules, a very, very small one, to larger just before the game got published. I helped work on the rulebook for the game, and I did a lot of promotion for the game because Mage Knight is my #1 favourite game of all time. I've also designed or co-designed with a friend of mine, Phil, the latter 2 expansions. So Krang, the character expansion, and the Shades of Tesla, co-designed by me and Phil. So, and Mage Knight is still my #1 favourite game. So I have an involvement in Mage Knight. And Star Trek Frontiers, for those people who don't know, is a Star Trek rethemed version of Mage Knight. Now, I was actually, because I had a professional working relationship with WizKids, and I co-designed the last 2 expansions for Mage Knight, when WizKids decided that they were going to basically re-release Mage Knight with the Star Trek theme, they offered that design job to me. And I said no. And I'm glad that I said no, because I don't feel I would have done a good job with it. And they gave it to Andrew Parks, who's already done other Star Trek games as well. And Andrew did a great job with it. So I did actually get offered the original design job for Star Trek Frontiers. And I'm not like, I didn't turn it down or I'm angry or bitter about it or anything like that. I just thought, no, that's not really my kind of thing. And I'm glad that I didn't do it. I mean, at the time, I still had a full-time job. This was before gaming rules was really a thing. What do I think about it? Now, I'm also a Trekker. Okay, I've been a Star Trek fan since the 70s. And I love most things Star Trek, not Voyager, but most things Star Trek I really, really like. I've just lost a load more followers, haven't I? Yeah. I personally don't think Star Trek Frontiers fits. Now, the Mage Knight game suits the setting of Mage Knight, where the Mage Knights are these characters that you can't fully explain. Are they good? Are they bad? We don't know. One minute they're helping a village, next minute they're burning down the monastery to get artifacts. Their choices of what they do, they're a mystery. It's all a bit weird. They have these followers, they recruit these followers. Sometimes they threaten the people to come and work for them. Sometimes they convince them by being all nice. That's what Mage Knight is. You translate that to a Star Trek setting and you have a Federation starship with a Romulan crew and a Klingon. Okay, next gen you had a Klingon crew, I get that. But you have a mix of characters from different timelines and different races, and you have a Federation ship going around and blowing up a monastery to get the artifact. It doesn't fit. Now, I know a number of people prefer the Star Trek setting. Apparently they simplified combat. I read the rules. I didn't see how they'd simplified combat. But for me, the Star Trek setting doesn't work for me with the game, with the Mage Knight mechanisms. There you go. That's my personal opinion on it. Would I ever play Star Trek Frontiers? No, because I've got Mage Knight. It's so close to being Mage Knight, I'd just play Mage Knight. Right. Next question. When am I going to play more Mage Knight? So I am going to play more Mage Knight. In fact, I was talking about it with Tom Heath from Slicker Drips not long ago, because it's Tom's anniversary coming up. Tom has recently done a playthrough of Mage Knight himself, and it's Tom's anniversary coming up, and I've basically discussed with Tom that to celebrate Tom's anniversary, we'll do a 2-player game of Mage Knight. So that's going to be happening. I don't know when. It might be next month. It might be the month afterwards, but that's the next plans for me playing Mage Knight. And Richie also says, of the videos that I've posted on YouTube, his favourite one is the one where I teach 3 beginners how to play Mage Knight, which I absolutely love doing because I love teaching Mage Knight almost as much as I enjoy playing it. And if you're interested in Mage Knight, dog's barking outside, then I would definitely recommend that. I think it's from November 2019. Nilsson, Vashti and Rick came round and I taught the 3 of them how to play the game using the walkthrough manual. It is a long video. I mean, it's not as long as some other people's solo playthrough videos of the game, but it's about 2.5, 3 hours. But I go through the entire walkthrough step by step and I teach them how to play. And I really enjoyed that. And Richie wants to know, once the COVID madness clears up, it would be great to see me do something similar for Too Many Bones. Now, I have been covering Too Many Bones a lot this year, and I'm due to covering it again in a couple of weeks' time. And basically, I did it 4 times in January, I think, maybe 5, and I'm doing it once a month, every month. And yeah, at some point, if I can find some people locally who want to learn how to play Too Many Bones, who don't already know how to play Too Many Bones, then I would love to do that. But I'd probably play in the game as well. Right, a very big long question next from Nigel. So Nigel Graves, I've known Nigel for years. I think I was engaging with Nigel on social media before Gaming Rules was a thing. So yeah, it's been a long time. Nigel asked a very, very long question, right? I'm not going to read this question out because it's a small essay. But this was a really good question. And this question actually caused me and Vicky, my non-game playing partner, to have a good, 45-minute discussion about this. So thank you very much for this question, Nigel. And I will try to summarize what Nigel said. This all happened a few weeks ago. And it was all about the Kickstarter campaign for Tiny Epic Dungeons. Now, I'll try and summarize, but basically the front cover of this game was extremely sexist. I mean, it had 5 characters on the front cover, I think, 4 of which were all knights in armor, fully clothed and dressed. And there was one woman on the front cover who was scantily clad, you know, twisted round at a funny angle, so that she was showing her boobs and a bottom as well, right? I wasn't sure whether to say the American word for it or the British word for it. Anyway, there's no place for artwork like that now, in my opinion, right? That artwork should never have been made. It should never have been approved by the publisher. It should never have been put on the front cover of a box. The publisher should have known better. And it was shocking. It was shocking to see. And you do see artwork like that coming out now and again. usually from some European countries where it isn't that big of a thing, but not from a US publisher. I was surprised and I was shocked to see it. And quite rightly, a lot of people were outraged by it. Now, and a few people led the sort of charge on this. There was Eric from Punchboard Media. I think Eric was involved. And Elizabeth Hargrave, designer of Wingspan. Elizabeth was very vocal about it and wanted to basically raise the issue about the fact that we should not be having front covers of boxes with women depicted in this way. We shouldn't be having it. And Elizabeth's post, which I saw, was very much raising the issue and trying to, raise awareness. And eventually the publisher has, done something about it and they changed the cover. Now, as I say earlier on, they should never have approved that cover in the first place anyway, but they listened to that. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that it became another very hostile, toxic environment with a lot of people coming out the woodwork, and it was just not nice to read all of this stuff going on. And it is one of the contributing factors why I stepped away from Twitter. Not the only one, but it's one of the contributing factors that there was this much anger and hostility just going around constantly. And it was because a number of people were rebelling against what Elizabeth said. I said I was going to summarize and I've ended up telling the whole story. A lot of people were rebelling against what Elizabeth said and going the opposite way. So people saying, oh, what you're saying is all left-wing nonsense by those people. And they were saying, I'm now backing this game because of this. And people were complaining that Elizabeth was telling people not to back the game, which she wasn't doing. Anyway, right. If you want to know more about it, you can go and find out. But the bottom line is, and this is the question from Nigel, do I think that there should be an option for Kickstarter creators to basically remove backers from their game? Because there was a lot of people who were very vocal about saying, oh, this is going too far, just let us do what we want, it's art, stop complaining. And people were saying, well, I don't want these people backing my game. If you want to have that opinion, you can have that opinion, but I don't want you backing my game. And then it sort of spread onto other things. And the Kickstarter page got nasty, and there was a lot of comments on there. And I think fundamentally the question is, should Kickstarter creators, or whatever platform you're using, because GameFound is a thing as well now, have the power to block people and remove backers and remove comments? And basically we discussed this for a good 30-40 minutes, and ultimately we decided no, because whilst that might seem a good thing, where did we get to on it? It was all about, and it's not about protecting freedom of speech, it's about who draws the line. Okay, let's say, for example, I decide to launch a Kickstarter campaign, right? So I'm going to launch a Kickstarter campaign for a game that I've designed or whatever, right? And I have a bunch of people in the comments saying, Paul's a scam artist. He's already created 10 Kickstarters and he hasn't delivered on any of those. And I can go in and remove those backers, block them, and delete the comments, right? So if you give me the permission to do that, what's to say I'm not going to do that? Okay, but let's take it one step back. Let's say somebody posts on my game and says, yeah, I'm interested in this game, but I don't know, I'm a bit concerned by the replayability. It doesn't sound like the game would be that replayable. And I go, ooh, that's a good point. My game isn't very replayable. And this person has just made a comment on my Kickstarter saying that I don't think it's very replayable. People are going to read that. They're going to, oh yeah, I'll delete that. So if you give me the power to delete Kickstarter comments, who's going to watch the watchers, right? Who's going to keep an eye on me, or whoever is responsible for doing that? So it's all well and good to say Kickstarter creators should have the power to block certain sexist, trollish individual people, but where do you draw the line? Because if you give them that permission, who's to say that they won't abuse it? So ultimately, I don't think we can. I think all we have to do is use the system as we have it. If somebody is making inappropriate comments on a Kickstarter page, that gets raised with Kickstarter themselves, and they are the ones that remove the comments. I think that's, to be honest, that's the only way. So thank you very much, Nigel. We had a really good discussion about that one night. Anyway, right, moving on. If you agree or disagree, please let me know. I'm interested. Post them in the comment. If you're not watching this live, feel free to post in the comments of this video on any of the matters that I talk about today. Right, moving on from a heavy topic, we're moving on now to a question from Matt Moore, aka General Eggy. Now, this isn't really a question, but he's going to ask it anyway, and it concerns the best way to eat Jaffa cakes. I need a drink. So, have I ever taken 2 Jaffa cakes and put them together so that the chocolate sides are touching and that the sponge is on top and the bottom, so it looks like a Jaffa cake burger, then eat it? And the answer is no. But in his professional opinion, so he knows these things, it's the best way to eat Jaffa cakes, and he put that in caps. The only downside is the amount of Jaffa cakes consumed in a day is doubled. So, I haven't done it, but I have here the amount of prep that I do for these videos. So, we have here 1 Jaffa cake, we have here 2 Jaffa cakes, okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together, chocolate sides are touching so that the sponge is on the top and the bottom. There we go. So, it actually looks like... That look like one of the things from Independence Day. Or, no, it looks like a Cylon base star. Sort of. It's totally a Cylon base star. Anyway. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think definitely. Now, the thing is, they are... Yeah, okay. You have to try that. Have you ever done it? Oh, I don't know. Right, next. Oh, this was the question for you. Have you put your answer in the chat? The next question is from Brian McCarthy, who's got a question for Vicky. I can answer this for her. Because, you know, I'm the man in the relationship and I take over. I was only saying that to get a reaction. I think we all know who wears the trousers in this relationship. Right, so this is a question sort of for me, but more for Vicky. Because for those people who don't know, Vicky got a Lego Millennium Falcon for Christmas, and she's been building it over the last few months. And last year you got the James Bond DB7 car, DB5. I always say DB7. Why do I say DB7? Is it better than the DB5? Do you ever play with Lego bricks just generally to make your own creation? And the answer is no. So we both used to when we were, you know, not together. But no, it is more building something that has been bought as a thing. He said when he was quite into Lego, he'd make the model, play a bit, tear it down, mess around, combine some other pieces. So I did exactly the same, but not for like 40 years or so. So yeah, there you go. I was going to get the Millennium Falcon, but I'm not going to. Keep an eye on next month's video log, which will be out in about a week or so's time. And I'll show you a latest update of where it's got to. Neil, do I find it weird being asked questions by complete strangers over the internet, or am I used to it by now? And the follow-up question is, in particular, given that I do these Q&As due to my position as an influencer, which he hates the word, within the board game community, do I find it weird being asked non-board game related questions? So the answer to both of those is no. I don't find it weird in any way. Now, I've been doing these live Q&As for 2 years? Maybe more. I remember doing them before we got the home broadband upgrade. If you go back on my channel 2.5 years ago for a live Q&A, you'll notice that I'm really pixelated because we only got a broadband upgrade and it was summer, wasn't last year, it was summer 2019. I think we got the upgrade. So I've been doing these live Q&As for 2.5 years. They started out weird. I will be honest, it was a little bit weird. But over the last 2 years, obviously we all grow, we all develop as people. But one thing that's happened to me in my personal life, because my personal life and professional life are all tied together, the support of my patrons, and we have a Slack channel for patron supporters, that has become a really good community. as such that I am on there and I'm very active on there and I feel safe there and I feel like it's a very friendly place with loads of friends all chatting about stuff. And during lockdown, that's been you know, a source of really good comfort for a lot of people, because a lot of people are stuck at home and are not seeing other people, and we have this chat general channel. So I feel it's a friendly place, and a lot of the people I've become friends with on there. But what that means is that I think I've opened up, and I'm more than happy, and I'm comfortable with doing these things and answering any questions about anything to random strangers and eating Jaffa cakes live on channel because some guy asked me to, right? That I'm fine with it. So for me, it's not weird. In some areas of my life, I'm a private person, and in other areas, I'm very open. And I want people to know the real me. There's a lot of people who you see creating videos on YouTube, and there is the presenter side of them. So if you ever watch any of my live videos, you get this, right? If you ever watch any of my how to play videos, they are scripted, okay? And there's a big difference in those. I don't feel that, well, maybe a little bit, but my personality and my craziness doesn't come across much in the how to play videos. I might sneak in a humorous line now and again, but you don't get this live interaction and stuff like that. And I think I'm more comfortable with people seeing the real me rather than me constantly putting on this smiley presenter face. That's not me. And whilst I will do that for the how to play videos, I'm a lot more comfortable with this rough and ready, raw thing. So yeah, I have no problem with random people and asking me random questions. And what's my opinion on anchovies on pizza? And I think this followed on from last month's live Q&A where we talked about my love for pineapple on pizza. Oh, I've just watched the followers go down again. Anchovies on pizza, definitely not. I had anchovies on pizza once. I don't like anchovies. So there we go. Anchovies on pizza, no, definitely not for me. What do you think in the chat? Anchovies on pizza? Yes or no? Right, next question is from Mick. I have probably been asked this before, but do I have any plans to show more Aeon's End content? Yes, Mick, I have been asked this before. It is clear to me that there is a requirement out there for me to produce more Aeon's End content. And I have wanted to. It's just too many games, not enough time. But thanks to your question, Mick, that has been the straw that broke the camel's back. I now have another scheduled live stream of Aeon's End. As of this morning, I have arranged to do a 2-player live playthrough with a good friend of mine, Rick, and we're going to be doing that on Sunday the 11th of April, I think. It's going to be 10 o'clock in the morning UK time, so people over in the US will have to watch it later on. But yes, I am going to be doing some more Aeon's End content because I love Aeon's End. I think it's a fantastic game, and I will be doing some more content on it. So there you go. Next question is also from Nigel Graves, and this is another good question. So years ago, I used to do a podcast. I haven't done the podcast for quite a while now. I have no plans to go back to the podcast. But in the podcast, it used to be split up into different sections. So game news, what's Paul been playing, what's Paul been working on. And I used to have like an audio transition between each of the things. And I'd completely forgotten about this until Nigel reminded me. But what I did is I basically sampled myself saying what Paul has been playing. And then I ran it through a load of filters to make it sound weird. And Nigel is asking, because every month I do a monthly video log, Nigel is asking if I could use those audio things, which I don't think I have anymore, but make some new ones. Because my video log is divided into sections. And I could do that. So maybe I will. Maybe next month, for the next month's video log, rather than me just saying, and now moving on to, I actually have a transition scene in, and I have some audio over the top. So yeah, maybe I'll do that if I get some time. Thank you very much for the prompt. Going back to questions from Neil again. Too Many Bones or Gloomhaven? Now, I'm loving Too Many Bones at the moment, and as mentioned, I've played it 7 or 8 times this year already, and I'm playing it every month. But Gloomhaven. I think Gloomhaven has to edge it for me. Too Many Bones is brilliant. Gloomhaven is brilliant. But Gloomhaven, I think, is overall more polished. I think Too Many Bones is more quirky and there's a lot more going on, but I think Gloomhaven is the more accessible game. Both games are complex, but Too Many Bones has a number of quirky side things that go on that don't feel right, whereas Gloomhaven only has one of those. He did say, feel free to interpret the question however I like. And as a subsequent question, Too Many Bones Undertow or Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion? Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, absolutely. Too Many Bones Undertow is a weird one because Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is very much a introduction to Gloomhaven, right? Cheaper price point, walkthrough style manual for the first 5 scenarios to get you playing the game. Whereas Too Many Bones Undertow, although it is a cheaper entry point, I firmly believe that Too Many Bones Undertow is not the best way to start playing Too Many Bones, whereas Jaws of the Lion is. Too Many Bones Undertow, I think, is more complex than the base game. It comes with 2 characters, one of which I still can't work out how to play because it's that complicated. And it has some extra rules on top of an already complex rule set. So yeah, I don't think Too Many Bones Undertow is a good introduction to Too Many Bones. It is from a price point of view, but not from a gameplay point of view. Right, questions from Brian. Do I allow biscuits at the gaming table? Yes. If so, do I have limits on what type of biscuits you allow? Now, Brian's going into some detail here, so bear with us. For example, Tunnock's caramel wafers don't really cause crumbs. It's a very good point. But Tunnock's caramel logs, very different. They can spray toasted coconut everywhere, unless you have the mini ones in the wee bags. And all of that loose coconut stays in the bag. And can be a real pain to clean up. So I know a lot of people don't like people eating at the table and putting greasy palm prints over things. I'm not that bothered about it. Of course, I don't want greasy fingerprints all over my cards or everything like that, but I don't have any rules on what not to have at the table. Also, do I allow biscuit dunking at the gaming table? Now, biscuit dunking, I don't know if this is a UK thing or not, but I do dunk my biscuits. Or is the risk of a half-soggy rich tea splattering a Mage Knight tile too great a risk? Yeah, to be honest, I think if somebody was dunking a rich tea biscuit in their cup of tea at the gaming table and then lifting it out and trying to get it in the mouth before it drops off, that's a game in itself. Finally, more questions from Brian related to biscuits. Which biscuit would you choose in these head-to-heads? Right, Tunnock's caramel wafer versus Tunnock's caramel log. I don't know. We'll have to look that up. Vicky's going to look them up now. She's going to Google Tunnock's caramel wafer and Tunnock's caramel log, and we'll tell you which is the best. Chocolate hobnob versus chocolate digestive. Chocolate hobnob every time. Jammy Dodger versus Happy Face. They're almost the same, aren't they? What's the difference? Anyway, Vicky says Happy Face. Rich tea versus ginger nut. Ginger nut, because I love ginger. And which of these do you prefer to dunk? Ginger nut, because there's more chance. I believe ginger nuts have a 73% chance of staying together when you dunk them, whereas a rich tea is only 42% chance. So yeah, definitely ginger nuts. Right, do we have an answer on the Tunnock's caramel wafer? No, we'll come back to that one. Right. Okay, so they're the caramel logs. And they're the caramel wafers. I don't think I've ever had a caramel log. We need to buy some. Right. Neil is asking, is this the same Neil from earlier? I think it is. So Neil has never played Gloomhaven, only Jaws of the Lion, but he's picked up Gloomhaven Digital in the recent Steam sale. My videos helped sell it. Yeah, Gloomhaven Digital is fantastic. He's been playing a lot of it recently. How many characters have I played myself, both on the digital and physical versions, and how often do I switch to a new one? So in the physical version, I started out playing the Cragheart. I then went to the music notes character, which I didn't like. Then I played in the physical version. Yeah, I then played the Brute for a bit to give me a break. So we actually played with a variant rule that you can put one character on hold and start another one. And then I played the Eclipse character. So they're the ones I've played in the physical version. I have played some of the other characters as a one-off. In the digital version, I've played most of them in the digital version. Yeah, I think I've played all of them in the digital version a little bit. How often do I switch? I'm not playing the digital version as much as I'd like. So I kind of I want to stick with a character, because when you've played a character and you've leveled it up and you've got to level 3 and 4, I kind of don't want to go back to one of the other characters at level 1 and start again. But I'm going to have to in the digital version in order to unlock some of the other scenarios. Yeah. How many of you played? Vicky's played a few as well. You've played about 4. Again, we can't say the names of the characters because even 4 years on, it's still a spoiler, apparently. Christopher is saying it's been over a year in the UK now since we've played a physical game with humans not in our own bubble. Yeah, over a year. What game am I most looking forward to playing when you're allowed to? So many games. And the games have been piling up. So here's something that's going on. If you are interested, May the 17th. Is it May the 17th or May the 19th? May the 19th. So in the UK, on May 17th, we go into the next phase where they're easing the lockdown restrictions, and you are allowed to have one other person around your house from outside of your bubble. So on May the 19th this year, which is 6 weeks from now, Rick's coming over and we're playing Imperial Assault all day. Now, we've been planning to do this for a long time, and that's going to happen. So the first time somebody's going to be around this house for what, 5 months, 6 months, is going to be Rick on May the 19th, and we're going to be playing Imperial Assault all day. It's all going to be live streamed. So if you're interested in seeing us play Imperial Assault, that's happening on May the 19th. Take the day off work. That's what we've done. However, Nick and Gemma are going to be coming round as well at some point after that. The list of games that I want to play with them is just growing and growing. Merlin is on there, and lots of other ones. And for those who don't know, just before lockdown came in last year, I have an Arkham Horror Living card game group. We just finished the Path to Carcosa campaign, and all of us are very keen to start the next one. So that will be happening. I don't know when, but I've not played Arkham Horror the card game since we finished Path to Carcosa. So I'm getting desperate to get back to that. That's definitely up on there. Next question is from Mick again. This is a second question. He says that he's noticed I've often drawn the distinction between the word mechanism and mechanic. And he's not quite sure of the difference. And I know he knows that I place a lot of emphasis on precision of language. So what is the corruption of the meaning of mechanic, or are they two different things? So actually, to be honest, I'm not that serious about this, but I make it out as a kind of running joke that I am serious about it. And I actually got the difference from, I think it was Eric Martin from Board Game Geek, Board Game News. Mechanics are people who work on your cars to fix them. Okay? Mechanisms are what you have in games. But the way that language has developed and evolved, a lot of people say the word mechanic when the technical proper word might be mechanism. But over the years, it doesn't really matter. Really, it really doesn't matter. But it's just become one of those things that whenever anybody says mechanic, I correct them and say mechanism. You will speak to some people who say that I'm being a complete arse and I should shut up and go away. But it's just become one of those things that I do. As I say, mechanic is probably accepted now as an okay word to use to describe it. I personally prefer the word mechanism. So yeah, there we go. The final question from the BGG Guild. It's 40 minutes and then we'll do the contest. This is from James. He says he's really enjoying the content and the time that I put into each video. Thank you very much. We know the name of Steve the Snail and Haggis, but what are the names of the other soft friends that I have? Which is why I've got them all here. So all of my soft friends have names. We have Steve the Snail, which is this one. We have Colin the Chameleon. We have Monkey. Christmas Monkey is downstairs. We have 2 monkeys in the house. We have Haggis. Haggis is my oldest travelling companion. We have Oliver the Octopus. This is Oliver. We have Hamish. Now I call him Hamish. He's like a worm, but the reason I call him Hamish is because he's got a tartan hat, so I call him Hamish. This is Frog. I don't know whether this is Freddy. I think this was Freddy the Frog. I think this is Freddy. I don't even know if I've got a name for this one. This is a hedgehog, isn't it? Is it a hedgehog? Yeah, this is a hedgehog. I don't have a name for this. We need to get a name for this. So this is obviously mine because it's got a P on it. And this isn't mine. This is Vicky's, but this is Jellycat. because it's a Jellycat, so I call this Jellycat. It doesn't actually have a name. Anyway, they are the names. I don't think I've missed any. Oh, Charlie and Claude are cats. We've got 2 cats, Charlie and Claude. Vicky's going to go and get them now. You can probably tell that I've got a bit of an alliteration thing going on. I've always been a big fan of alliteration ever since I knew what the word meant. So it came as a great pleasure to me when Colin the chameleon is officially called Colin because it says so on his little tag, and Steve, the snail, is called Steve because it says so on his tag. So this is Charlie and Claude. Charlie and Claude haven't been in many videos because these normally live in the bedroom. Anyway, right, let's pop them there. So there you go. That is it for all of the questions that I've been asked in advance. And as I mentioned at the start, Vicky's going to put a link in the chat now. I have a guild on Board Game Geek. Please join the guild. Please subscribe. There's not that much traffic there, so you're not going to get bombarded with messages. But I do post some interesting conversations. And I am going to post that question earlier on from Rob about the 3 people you would most like to play a game with and what game would it be. That's going to be a question I put on the guild, and everybody can contribute to that. And I will be posting probably next week. I will post about the what questions do you want to ask me for next month live Q&A. Right, the contest. So each month, as I mentioned at the start, Games Law give me £25 worth of vouchers to give away. You enter the contest quite simply by clicking on this next link, which Vicky's going to put in the chat now. This takes you to a Google form. So the link takes you to a Google form. If you fill in the form, all you need to do is you need to put in the secret word, and the secret word is going to be Jellycat. Right, the secret word is Jellycat. So you put in your name, put in your email address, put Jellycat, and you will get entered into the draw. If you are a patron supporter of mine, please answer yes. Don't answer yes if you're not a patron supporter. That has happened before. And you'll get 1 extra entry. And yeah, speaking of the Patreon, very quickly, this video and a lot of the other content that I make is only possible through the support of the Patreon campaign. So a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for helping fund the channel and make these videos possible. If you do like the content that I make and you want to help fund the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It hasn't been a good month for the Patreon. Support has actually dropped quite a bit this month. So thank you very much to everybody who has stayed with me as a Patreon in these difficult times. And thank you very much to those people who have started supporting me this month, because that has helped offset the loss. That was a cat. I don't know if you heard that, but it's time for Loki. Come here, Loki. Come here, you. No. It's that time where Loki comes upstairs and starts meowing at us loudly, probably because he wants food. Right. We're now going to go to the questions which I have been asked. And if you have any questions for me now that you want to ask me live now, please put the word question in capital letters, and that will allow Vicky to see the chat more easily. So, where are the questions? They are here. So the first one is from Alex. And I haven't seen these questions, so unlike the other ones, I haven't prepared for these at all. In my opinion, what are good starting points to get involved in the industry besides design and development, professionally speaking? Are there any opportunity areas right now? So there's many different facets to this industry. And there are a number of ways of getting into it. It really depends which aspect of it you are interested in. If you are interested in editing rule books, doing game testing or anything like that, then I would approach publishers directly who you are a fan of. It's what I did. It worked for me. But please be aware that they probably get a lot of people asking the very same question. So, you basically have to say to them what it is that you want to do, what you are offering, what you are prepared to do, and also be aware that the hobby is such that there's a lot of fans of board games and there's a lot of passionate people in the board gaming hobby who are willing to do work for free. And now when I say work, before I started Gaming Rules, I was doing work for 3 publishers for free. Okay? I was helping them playtest games, I was helping them with their rule books, and for me, I had a full-time job. I had a well-paid full-time job as an IT manager. I I wasn't doing it to earn money. I wasn't doing it to try and get into the industry. I was doing it because I've been passionate about board games for my whole life. I wanted to do more. I wanted to help out. And these companies were making amazing games and I wanted to get involved, right? So I approached them as a fan and started offering and built up a conversation and everything else. And that's ended up leading to where I am today. But that was never the intention, okay? So I went into those offering to just help out. And whilst I'd never like to suggest to somebody that you should work for free, that's what I did and that's what worked for me. So, but what I don't want to do is somebody to contact me in 2 years' time and say, Paul, I did what you did. I've approached 5 publishers. I offered to work for free. I've been working for 2 years for no money. And now that I've decided I want to start charging for my services, they've all turned around and said no, because that might happen. You know, if you're a publisher and you've got this guy contacting you saying, oh, I'm a fan of your games and I'll happily help you proofread your next rulebook, and you go, oh, cool, great, this is great. And you send him a rulebook, and then he turns around afterwards and says, right, I've now done your first one for free. If you want me to continue to work for you, I now want paying. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I understand that, but actually we can't really afford that. So no, thank you very much. And I just don't want anybody to get into that position, but it's highly likely. You know, I've got friends who work, you know, a friend of mine works for Longpack Studios, doing that side of the industry, which is, you know, I have nothing to do with that side of the hobby at all. But there are so many different areas. So I don't know. I think you just need to speak to people. You need to build up your network connections. But my biggest advice is everybody else will be doing the same thing. You know, you can't just knock on somebody's door and say, you know, I want to start working in the hobby. Please let me know how I get started, because so many people are doing it. Yeah, it's tricky. It is tricky. Go with the flow. How hyped are you about Storm Sunder? So Storm Sunder is a game I've not heard of. So I'm now going to go to Board Game Geek and I'm going to look up Storm Sunder. Storm Sunder. Storm Sunder, Heirs of Ruin, 2021. I hope this isn't the designer of the game who's asking me. So Storm Sunder by Robert McConnell, self-published. Got nice miniatures in it. Yeah. It is a solo cooperative RPG game for 1 to 4 players that takes place in an immersive and interactive world where players decide the flow of the story. Well, that sounds like the kind of games that I like. You know, Gloomhaven, a Tainted Grail, fantasy cooperative RPG game for 1 to 4 players. So thank you for letting me know about the game. But there are so many games at the moment. I mean, okay, I look at this and I decide this looks great. What do I do? Do I then go and buy it? It won't get played. That's the problem. Me and Vicky have literally years worth of games to play together that we do. We've got games from 3 years ago, which we've said we'll play, and we haven't got round to playing yet. So, and we have the whole of we have the whole of Tainted Grail campaigns 2 and 3. We've got Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion to finish. We have Frosthaven arriving later this year. We've got the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, which we've agreed this afternoon that we're going to be playing. There you go, you heard it here first. If I ask you a question and you're asleep and you don't answer, that's a yes. That's how it works, isn't it? So yes, thank you very much for letting me know. It does look nice. But yeah, I don't have enough time to get into all these games. Right, have I watched the Snyder Cut of Justice League yet? Yes, we did. We watched it last weekend before. So it was long. There were definitely, I felt, personal opinion, it could have been 20, 30 minutes shorter. There were definitely a couple of points where it was like, this is a bit slow. And I totally get the point that the original cut wasn't well received and that they wanted to give him the freedom to go back and do it again. And they pretty much, I guess, they had to give him almost full freedom of what to do. I'd have to go back and watch the original one again and then watch the new one, but I didn't have as many issues with the original one as people did with the new one. And I can't even remember it. It was so long ago and it was so unmemorable that I couldn't compare the two, because when we watched the new one, it was like we couldn't tell how different it was. I really didn't like the fact that it was 4x3. That really got on my nerves, and it's still getting on my nerves now. I just don't understand that. But yeah, we've watched it. I now want to go back and watch the Batman versus Superman Snyder cut, or the whatever extended cut of that. Because again, that's another film that I didn't have as much of a problem with as other people. Stephen's got a question. He says, the Steffenfeld City collection is supposed to be delivered in a couple of months. I did a great video for Hamburg. Did I? Oh yeah, Nick and Gemma came round and we played the prototype. Wondered if Amsterdam video is in the works. Great fan of the channel. So Stephen, right. So here's the thing. Not only did I do the playthrough of Hamburg with the prototype, is Queen Games have actually commissioned me to create the official how to play videos for the game. So at some point in the next couple of months, before it comes out, I have it in my calendar that I am going to be creating the official tutorial videos for these games, which I'm super excited about because I'm a Steffenfeld fan and have been for a very, very, very long time. So yeah, so that should be happening. That should be coming to the channel. As soon as Queen Games have got the game and it's ready and they send it to me, I will be creating that video. As for will there be a playthrough of Amsterdam, I don't know, because lockdown doesn't end until the 17th of May. I'm not sure. We will find out. I mean, I'd love to at some point, because I personally now believe that my tutorial videos aren't the full picture. I think a tutorial video is great and useful for those people who just want to watch a 20-minute here's how to play the game. But a lot of the games that I do rules videos for, I think need a playthrough for you to go, right, now I see how it all goes together. So for me, I love the idea of me doing a how to play video and a playthrough video, and then the two go hand in hand, and then you'll be fine. So yes, super excited about those. When is my birthday? My birthday is July. It's at the start of July. I'm going to be 27 this year. So what? Yeah, 27 this year again. So yeah, please send cakes. Don't do birthday cards because they're not edible. But yeah, anybody who wants to send me any cakes, birthday at the start of July. Last year was my 50th. Being 50 is a big thing. So to anybody out there who is either 50 or over 50, you'll know what I mean. 40 for me came and went. 40 was supposed to be a big birthday. 40 for me came and went, and I didn't feel any different. 50 hit me. 50 hit me hard for a couple of reasons, which I won't go into here. But 50 for me was a big stepping stone, and it was a big milestone. And unfortunately, due to lockdown, I didn't do anything. I mean, we had a great day. Vicky went out of her way to give me an amazing birthday last year. And it was a fantastic day. But was I able to have a games weekend? Was I able to do any of that stuff? No, I wasn't. And traditionally for my birthday, for the last 15 years, I've had a games weekend and a load of people come over and have played games. So I don't know what I'm going to do this year. It will be my 51st birthday. Lockdown should be over. The UK has said by the end of June, all restrictions will be gone. I don't believe it. But theoretically, I should be legally allowed to have a whole bunch of people over for the weekend. I'm not going to, because I don't think it would be safe to do so. But I might do something. I don't know yet. I want to do something for my birthday this year. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's at the start of July. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I haven't told anybody this, I haven't told you, but there are a number of games which I've been reminiscing about over the last 6 months, like really old games. Like I'm talking Battle Cars from 1983. I'm talking Apocalypse or Warlord from like the 70s. I'm talking really old games. Also, there's a game called Dragon Pass, which is on my bucket list to play. I've been wanting to play Dragon Pass almost my entire life, okay? I had a copy of the game for about 15 years and never played it. I'm thinking that my birthday this year is the time when I do some of the things that I've been wanting to do that I've been putting off. And if I do it, I will be live streaming it. So yeah, maybe for my 51st birthday this year, there'll be a live stream of me playing Dragon Pass. Look it up on BGG if you don't know what Dragon Pass is. It's a very old game. If I could retheme any game, what would it be and what theme? Oh, this is a good question, Jim. This is one of those questions that I really wish you'd have asked in advance, because I can't think about these things put on the spot. If I could retheme any game, what would it be and what theme? So basically, find a game that I like where I don't particularly like the theme of the game and retheme it to something else. I'm going to have a think about that one. So I think, Jim, can you just put that in bold or blue or something? Jim, your question is going to get asked on the guild as well. So for anybody who is on the BGG guild, there's going to be a question on there from Jim about pick a game that you could rethink. Because I want to have a think about this. I don't just want to say change Great Western Trail to Cthulhu, right? That's a silly idea, but you know what I mean. Great Western Trail, love the game. It's in my top 10 games of all time, probably. But the theme of the game has no interest for me. Now, I don't need the theme of the game to enjoy Great Western Trail, but could Great Western Trail be rethemed to something like, you know, Dresden Files or Star Trek or what, a theme that I really like, and would I enjoy the game more? So yeah, I'll have a think about that. Oh, it's in bright green. I'm not going to miss that, am I? Where did I ever land on Maracaibo versus Great Western Trail? I did land right now, and this is a nice follow-up question because I just mentioned Great Western Trail. And in fact, I just finished last month doing the playthrough series of Maracaibo, the solo campaign. And at the end of that, if you want to know what I think, I would go and check out my Maracaibo solo campaign playthrough, the final one. Because at the end, I talk for about 15 or 20 minutes about it. Short answer, Maracaibo. Great Western Trail might be the better game, but Maracaibo has built-in solo mode and the campaign mode, and I believe there is more game in there than Great Western Trail. So as a complete package, Maracaibo wins it. Now, when the new Great Western Trail comes out, if it has a built-in solo mode and a campaign mode, Great Western Trail is probably going to edge Maracaibo a little bit. But yes. Can I repeat the contest word? Yes, the contest word was Jellycat. Jellycat is the secret word that you need to enter the contest. And if you are not watching this live, the contest remains open until Sunday. So Sunday the 4th of April. You've got until 6 p.m. GMT on Sunday the 4th of April to enter. So if you're not watching this live, you can still enter the contest. I say this every month. 95% of my views on these videos come not live. And do you know how many people enter the contest between after the end of this video? About 4. So to all of you people who are not watching this live, you can enter the contest. You can go and enter it. Right, Genway wants to know, what do I think of the Carcassonne Anniversary Edition coming up? I didn't know that there was a Carcassonne Anniversary Edition coming up, so I have no thoughts on it. Carcassonne is an interesting one though. Carcassonne came out and it won Game of the Year in 2001, I think. And this was at the time when me and my playgroup we had an opinion of the Game of the Year, the Spiel des Jahres, the German Spiel des Jahres award, that, oh, these are like the best games. And then we got Carcassonne because it had won the Spiel des Jahres award, and I was massively disappointed. Massively, massively disappointed, because I was like, what? This is like a simple 4 pages of rules tile laying game. And the first edition of Carcassonne, when it came out, the rules for the farmers didn't really work that well, and they ended up changing them. So that they changed the rules for the farmers very quickly after the game came out, officially changed the rules for how the farmers work. And I was like, how can a game come out, win an award, but clearly there's a rule that people don't like and they I don't know. So I really didn't like Carcassonne when it came out. But that's because I was in the heavy complex, well, at least medium complex games, and I was a bit disappointed that a game as light as that had won the Spiel des Jahres. Now, moving on 20 years, I have no problem now, and I understand that the Spiel des Jahres award is for family weight accessible games. I know that now, and Carcassonne absolutely should have won the award that year, because Carcassonne is one of those games which has stood the test of time, and 20 years on, people are still using Carcassonne as a gateway game to introduce new players to the hobby, and that's fantastic. For me, I don't particularly like Carcassonne as a game because I think it's, oh, I've got a tile. There's the best place to put it. Now I draw another tile. There's the best place to put it. And the monasteries are too powerful. Straight after Carcassonne came out, I had Paul's variant rule 1 and 2. Paul's variant rule is you have 2 tiles, you play one of them and then you draw a new one. And Paul's variant rule 2 is you have 3 tiles, you play one and then you draw a new one. It's just one of those things. And also, am I right in thinking the Carcassonne has the rule that you draw the tile at the start of your turn, which means the downtime is increased because you then have to think about what you're doing. Whereas if you had the tile at the end of the previous turn, you could actually think about where you were going to put it. I can't quite remember on that. So no, I don't have any thoughts about the anniversary edition coming out, but there's my thoughts on Carcassonne. I respect the game. It's not one that I would generally ever play. Although I did play Hunters and Gatherers once, and that was actually quite good. Next, Liberation Games Design wants to know, what themes do you want to see a game about? What type of game would that be? And what themes do I think are overdone? We do have the themes question as a regular question on these Q&As. I should actually write down what I say every month, and then either, what I should do is actually completely change it. Every month I give a completely different answer and change my mind on it. That'd be funny. So my stock answer on this is I don't have a particular theme which I want to see in a game. Okay, I don't feel that I'm much of a creative person, which is why I'm not really a games designer. Technically I am because of the Mage Knight expansions, but I couldn't come up with some of the great themes and concepts that some of these other creative people can come up with. I've accepted that. I know that that is not my strong point. And that means that I'm not there thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a game in this particular theme? Because I think either all themes have been covered, but then again, somebody comes up with a new theme. So I think more games around the Netrunner setting, because I love the Netrunner setting. Okay, more games about Dresden Files, because I like the Dresden File set. I don't know. I've got areas and things that I like, and therefore for me, it would be nice to have more games in that genre. But where am I? I've lost it. Yeah, what type of game would it be and which themes do I think are overdone? So I used to think there was a lot of themes that were overdone. You know, fantasy cooperative role-playing games, not role-playing games, but board games. I used to think that was overdone, right? Cthulhu, everybody says Cthulhu is overdone. And zombie games, overdone. But the advantage of the gaming industry and the hobby as it is right now, it's too big. It's so big, you can pick and choose. If you love Cthulhu, you could just buy 100 different Cthulhu games if you really wanted to. If you don't like Cthulhu, that's fine, because you've got thousands of other non-Cthulhu games. If you want a game about building up a medieval city in Europe, there you go. You've got hundreds of those available to you. So I don't think, for me, there is one theme which has been overdone, whereas 2 years ago, I actually thought there was. Again, it's part of the evolution of me. I've just come to accept that there are a lot of games in this particular theme and genre, but that's fine, you know, because more games we've got, more choices we've got. So I've not really answered your question, but I don't think I'm able to answer your question because I can't think of a theme that I'd like to see a game about. And if I could, which type of game would it be? Apart from the crazy ideas for games that I've got in my head, which will probably never come to fruition. But ask me about my Weather Machine game at some point in future. Right, next question is... The only question you want answered is, when's the next Mage Knight stream? Yes, somebody has already asked it. Yeah, I'll announce it. It'll either be next month or the month after. And it'll be with Tom Heath from Slicker Drips. We're doing a 2-player playthrough. James is saying the real question is, when am I going to finish playing Drake Hollow? I do want to get back to Drake Hollow at some point, but like board games, I have about 15 digital computer games that I want to play. If I had time, I have a whole bunch of them. And I did a lot of Drake Hollow and I was really enjoying it, but I finished the first area. And whilst I do want to play it again, I've actually got about 4 other digital games that I would now want to play in preference to that. And that kind of bothers me because I am a completionist. So it's going to bother me, the fact that I didn't finish playing Drake Hollow. But also, I've played it enough and enjoyed it enough. Would continuing to play it make me happier than playing some new games? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But keep bugging me, James, and maybe one day I'll play it. The problem now is it's been so long, I'd forget how to do everything. Next question from Adam. Hopes I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Adam. Do I enjoy Android Netrunner? Now that FFG have stopped supporting it, how do I feel about the fan-supported project, the follow-up to Netrunner? So, do I enjoy Android Netrunner? So for those people who don't know, I was a Netrunner player when Netrunner first came out in 1996. I actually ended up becoming the UK Netrunner tournament coordinator for Netrunner. I ran the UK National Championships for Netrunner right through to 2001, I think, 2002 maybe. And I was one of the few people that kept Netrunner going, the original Netrunner, in the late 90s and early noughties. I still have all of my original Netrunner cards, and in fact, I still have a sealed box of original Netrunner starters. If anybody wants it, make me an offer, because I was in the process of selling it on eBay when the new version got announced. So I'm a massive fan of the Netrunner game, a massive fan of the setting of Netrunner, and then when Fantasy Flight announced the new version, I actually was involved in it a little bit. I got involved in the playtesting team, and of course I got it when it came out. I got it when it came out. I started organising Netrunner tournaments, and at the UK Games Expo every year, since the new version of Netrunner came out, there has been a UK National Championship. The first one of those was organised and coordinated by me. It was my idea. I decided I wanted to do one. I approached Fantasy Flight Games and Asmodee, and they gave me a space, and I basically ran the first UK Netrunner tournament with the new release. Since then, Asmodee, obviously, because it's part of FFG, they picked it up and they started then running it as a tournament. But it was me. I started that. So yes, I'm a big fan of Android Netrunner. And I played it weekly, and I ran tournaments every month for the first year that it was out, and then I got out of it and I've sold most of my cards. And the reason for it is I just didn't have time to keep up with it. It's a lifestyle game, and I was playing with some very good players. In fact, down at the Exeter club that I used to go to, there's a guy called Chris. He's the current world champion, right? So a guy from my local club, Chris Dyer, I think it is actually the current world champion for Android Netrunner, or at least he was a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever. And yeah, loved it, got into it, and I think Fantasy Flight did a really good job with it, but there's no way I was able to keep it up. And it got to the point where I was buying the pack every month, and then 4 months later, I realised I haven't played this game. And at which point I realised I have to get out of this. So yes, do I enjoy it? Yes, I think it's a brilliant game. I think the new version is better than the old version. I think it's an amazing game. Absolutely love it. How do I feel about the new fan-supported project? Brilliant, right? Because the game deserves to be carried on being played. Okay, so I am a big, huge fan of the fact that people are continuing it and still supporting it, and that is really good to see. I'm not involved in it because, as I say, I don't have time to get into it the way that, you know, I would do. Russ is here. Hi Russ, thank you for joining in. If it's not too late for questions, here's one. What's a red flag for me in a board game? Ooh, that's a good question. And what is one unusual thing that would make you immediately interested in a game? Ooh, a red flag in a board game. So there's two things. Well, it depends what you're... There's two things that would cause a red flag. First one is theme, setting, and artwork, right? I don't want to play a game about running a drug empire or a brothel or something, you know, and I don't want to play a distasteful theme. Now, some of you might be watching this saying, well, hang on a minute, Paul, weren't half an hour ago you were talking about Maracaibo and saying that that was one of your favourite games? Yeah, and I know a lot of people don't like the setting of Maracaibo. And I understand that, and I respect their opinions on that. If they don't want to play Maracaibo because it's based on a time of history where the English, French, and Spanish were doing bad things, then that's fine. but I don't want to play a game about, you know, running drugs and prostitutes or anything like. It's just I just don't want to do that. Or any game with like there's a card game years ago, and it's probably still out now. It's called Barbarossa, and it's supposed to be a good card game, and it's a conflict card game, but it's got Japanese anime scantily clad girls on the artwork. And a friend of mine got it, and he said, "Oh, let's play this game. It's a really good game." And I was like, "Well, it might be a really good game, but I kind of don't really want to play this because the artwork." So yeah, theme, setting, and artwork would be one of my red flags. Okay, the other red flag would be some of the game mechanisms that I don't like. For example, player elimination, hidden role, traitor, semi-cooperative, blind bidding, roll for resolution, things like that. Now, there are some of those roll for resolution. I do play some games with some roll for resolution. You know, Arkham Horror Living card game is effectively roll for resolution. Some of the war games that I've been playing, the game that I covered on Friday night, massively roll for resolution, but I enjoyed that. So maybe that's not a red flag. Maybe that's like an orange flag. But yeah, anything with hidden roles, traitors, bluffing, negotiation, not interested. Not interested at all. GridCon. Yes, GridCon. So for those, this wasn't asked last month, and I was surprised it wasn't. A quick update on GridCon. Russie's asking about GridCon. I will be posting a message to the GridCon Facebook group about this, and I will be contacting all ticket holders because GridCon was supposed to be running at the end of June. GridCon 2, which is the convention that me and Vicky run, it is in Devon, isn't it? Yeah, it's in Tiverton. It's in Devon. It isn't going to be happening at the end of June. We've announced that. But we have been trying to work with the hotel on fitting in an extra date between now and the November one. We haven't been able to do that. So GridCon 2 will be at the end of November. Okay, and I will be communicating that out to all of the people who've got tickets at some point. We just need to finalise some details with the hotel. Monica is asking, and thank you, Monica, for being here ahead of time. Solo gaming or multiplayer gaming, which do you prefer? No question, multiplayer gaming. All right. I have gotten a new. I've been a lot more interested in solo gaming since it became not the only thing that I could do, because I've been doing some remote multiplayer playthroughs and they've been fine. But I have a new amount of respect for solo gaming. I appreciate it more than I used to. And I am very likely to carry on doing some solo gaming. In fact, I will absolutely guarantee that I will carry on doing some solo gaming after lockdown has finished, but I'd always prefer to do multiplayer gaming. Now, saying that, would I ever sit down on my own and play a solo game if I wasn't live streaming it? Very unlikely. Okay? The reason why I'm enjoying solo gaming at the moment is all of the people watching. If you are one of those people who tune in to my solo playthroughs, thank you. Okay? Because although I'm playing a solo game, I am getting the human interaction, talking to people in the chat. And also one of the reasons why I don't like playing solo game is I have occasionally short-term memory issues to the point where my mind just goes completely blank. And when you're playing a solo game and literally you're like, what was I doing? You know, where was I? I can't remember. And sometimes when I'm doing these, and when I say sometimes, I mean every single time, I lose track completely that I can't just then go, oh yeah, I was on phase 3. Yeah, I was about to move. I don't remember. Literally, the more I then try thinking about it, my mind just goes completely blank. And what that means is if I try and play a solo game without live streaming it with an audience, it won't work, because I will get to the point where suddenly I have a memory issue, which happens every single time, and then I can't work out where I was, and then I just pack the game away. Whereas live streaming it, and if you've watched any of the live streams, you will have seen me do this, and I'm like, where was I? And people in the chat will say, you're on phase 3. And I'll be like, right. And then I can carry on playing. So the solo gaming live streaming, without live streaming it, I don't think I'd be able to do it. So a huge thank you to everybody who tunes in for my solo playthroughs, because without you, I just wouldn't be able to get through those. Where is Feathers McGraw? Yes, I do actually have a Feathers McGraw. Oh, you've been looking for him? I do have a little Feathers McGraw. Where is it? Right, bear with us a minute. I think I might know where it is. Here he is. So this is Feathers McGraw. Unfortunately, the aerial has come off his little controller. There you go. So yeah, so this is Feathers McGraw from the Wallace and Gromit films, the third one, which was called... Oh, gosh. There you go. Question for the chat. What was the third Wallace and Gromit film called? Because the first one was A Grand Day Out. I don't even know what the second one was called. What were the names of the Wallace and Gromit films? There we go. I can't remember. So yeah, there is Feathers McGraw. I mentioned I've been a trekker. Have I watched the Orville? I haven't watched the Orville. I've heard Wrong Trousers. That was it. Oh, it was the second one. What was the third one then? Shaun the Sheep. Yeah, okay, second one, Wrong Trousers, which I think is the best one. Have I watched the Orville? I haven't watched the Orville. I've heard good things about it, but it's one of those that I haven't watched. What's the deal with me and Jaffa Cakes, and how many different types have I tasted? So the thing with Jaffa Cakes, it became one of those things that, and it's all because of me attending conventions in Germany and in America, mainly in America. What I wanted to do is I wanted to do something that was a little bit humorous, and I didn't deliberately go out to say, oh, if I do this, I'll become well known for it and it'll become a trademark. But what I started doing is I thought, and I actually started with chocolate hobnobs, right? So the whole Jaffa Cake thing, I started it with chocolate hobnobs, and then I moved on to Jaffa Cakes. And because Jaffa Cakes aren't that well known in America, I thought it might be funny, because I do a lot of demo work for CGE in America at Gen Con and BGG Con and Origins and places like that. And when I'm doing demos, I will basically do the demo, I'll explain it to people, and then I'll talk them through it and everything else. And then I say, and the winner of the game gets a Jaffa Cake. And they'll all sit there and they'll go, what's a Jaffa Cake, right? So it just became, I did it for a bit of fun. I did it as a bit of a, here's the quirky Englishman bringing some strange biscuits, cookies from the UK that we don't know what they are. And it just became a running thing. And I always I always took, like, 5 or 6 packs of Jaffa Cakes with me. And the winner of every demo that I ran, the winner got a Jaffa Cake. And they would very frequently eat it and go, oh, that was nice, or spit it out, that's disgusting. So it just became one of those things. And I started doing it in the UK, and it just, and as all of these things go, the more I do it, the more I get known for it, and then it's just become a thing. How many different tastes have I tried? Well, I've tried the pineapple ones, they were quite nice. I've tried the cherry ones, they were my favourite. I've had 2 from a friend in Finland. I think it was Finland. Unusual flavours that you can't get anywhere over here. They were amazing. I've tried passion fruit ones. Didn't like the passion fruit ones at all. Strawberry ones were nice as well. So yeah, definitely had a lot of different flavours. These ones, these half-eaten ones here, these are the original ones. Well, these are Aldi specials, 29p a pack, bit cheaper. Right. Which types of books do I read? From Monica. None. Well, rule books. If we're talking about issues that I have, as well as my short-term memory issues, I also have, it is a medical condition, because years ago, I was speaking to a doctor about it, and he went, yeah, you've got such and such a thing. And it's a particular thing. I basically, when I start reading a book, I get incredibly tired, right? Like massively tired. My eyes start watering, and within a few minutes I'm asleep. And it doesn't even matter if I'm permanently tired anyway, and I have been for years. But if I was to pick up a book now and start reading it, I would just fall asleep within a few minutes. So reading is a bit of a problem. I haven't actually read a book for about 6-7 years. And it's not just that. There's also the iPad, right? The iPad has been an amazing thing, but it means that I go to bed with the iPad and I read rule books, or I read graphic novels, or I read things on the internet or something like that. So because of that, that has kind of, I mean, you've probably been the same. Vicky quite often goes to bed with the iPad and watches something, whereas in the past you would always read in bed. So it's just the way that I've evolved and done different things with technology. If I was to read, audiobooks, yes, I listen to a lot of audio, or I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks. I haven't for about a year and a half because I'm not going anywhere. But the Dresden Files novels are fantastic, and they are the ones that I'm currently in the middle of listening to. So yeah, those Dresden Files novels are brilliant. I would read the Robin Hobb books, fantasy books. I used to read a lot of Asimov when I was younger, when I was able to. So yeah. Gandalf or Saruman? Well, Saruman of many colours, obviously. I mean, you know, Gandalf's just one colour, boring grey or boring white. Ugh. You know, Saruman, many, many colours, a lot more vibrant, a lot more, yeah. See you later on tonight. Scott is asking, Under Falling Skies or So You've Been Eaten? Under Falling Skies. Now, you're asking me that. It's a bit unfair because I was professionally involved in both of those games in terms of I helped out write the rulebook for So You've Been Eaten, and I have done commissioned videos for both games, and both games are good. And So You've Been Eaten is intricate, but whilst both are solo games, So You've Been Eaten could be a two-player game and probably works best as a two-player game. But Under Falling Skies, for me, I mean, I've gone on record and have said Under Falling Skies is, in my opinion, the best solo game out there at the moment. And people are going, well, what? Why not Mage Knight? Why not Nemo's War? Why not Spirit Island? For me, Under Falling Skies is a better solo game. It's shorter, it's quicker, it's lighter. The variability in the campaign, the variability in the scenario setup is just incredible. I absolutely love it. So yes, Under Falling Skies for me if I had a choice. Do I sometimes feel there is an overflow of games coming into the market? If by sometimes you mean every single day of my life, the answer is yes. There is an overflow of games. And like I looked up earlier on, what was that game that I looked up when somebody asked me about it? Storm Sunder, Heirs of Ruin, right? Yeah. Midara is another game that people keep telling me, oh, I should get that. Oh, and then there's another game. Oh, and then there's another game. And on Kickstarter next week, there'll be another 5 games, 3 of which I'll be interested in. There is an overflow of games, right? There's too many that anybody can keep a track of. And it's a problem for me in one way, because I look at a game like Storm Sunder and I go, oh, that looks great, I want to play that. I look at a game like Midara, oh, I want to play that. And I have that pang of, oh, there's not enough time to play all of these games. But that's like first world problems, right? I have 100 games, 200 games that I'd love to play right now. That's great. Surely that's great. I don't need any more new games coming along until I've got through all of my existing ones. And even then, I love my existing ones so much, I'd be happily playing, I'd be happy carrying on playing Gloomhaven in another 5 years' time. I just would. I'd just replay the campaign. I mentioned Dresden Files. How do I feel about the card game? Any questions on how to get the feel of Dresden in a board game? Yeah, so I've actually done a live stream on my channel of the card game. Sorry about that. So the card game, the Dresden Files cooperative card game, I played it when it came out and I really didn't like it. Really, really didn't like it because I was expecting something else. I wanted something else. I wasn't expecting a game that was super light, super short, and didn't have much substance to it. Okay, and that is what the card game is if you want to talk about it from a negative aspect. I could talk about this for ages, Stacey. I could talk about the Dresden Files card game for about 10 minutes. I have learnt since, after playing the digital version a number of times, to like the game because I now appreciate the game for what it is. Okay, I still would much prefer if it was a game more like the Arkham Horror card game, right? If somebody was to re-theme the Arkham Horror living card game into the Dresden Files universe with a game with a campaign, with stories, with deep, complex rules, lots of choices, intricate characters, characters with multiple stats, abilities and all of that lot, yeah, I'd be all over that. But the Dresden Files card game isn't. The Dresden Files card game is very simple. I'll play this card, roll some dice, and it puts 3 counters on there, and when we've got 6 on it, the card goes. It's really, really simple. But as I say, once I played it a few times, I actually learned to appreciate the game for what it is, even though I'd prefer it to be something else. So, yes. Any ideas on how to get the feel of Dresden in a board game? Yeah, I would start with something like the Arkham Horror setting. Obviously, you'd remove some of the bits of Arkham Horror, but it kind of has the investigation, the monsters, the magic. It's kind of got that. Rodoflow Gomes says, what's my opinion on Hybris? And what's my opinion on about doing the English version? So I didn't know much about Hybris, Disordered Cosmos, until the publisher contacted me and wanted me to work on the rulebook. I'm professionally involved in the game, so I can't really tell you too much about it because they are paying me to write the rulebook for the game. And therefore, I can't really go out and say, oh, the game's rubbish or the game's really good. Visually, I can give you my opinion on what it looks like. It looks amazing. And if I wasn't professionally involved in it, then looking at the game and reading about it, it's the kind of game that I would like to play. So if you don't know what Hybris Disordered Cosmos is, go and check it out because, yeah, visually, art-wise, it looks fantastic. And I have played it once when we were playtesting the rules, and it's the kind of game that I would, is definitely in my wheelhouse of games in terms of depth and complexity and the game mechanisms. But I can't really give you an opinion on the game. What's the oldest game in my collection? Oh, that is a good question, Monica. Now, one of the things that I've been meaning to do, and it's a New Year's resolution for me to do by the end of this year, is to completely catalogue my entire collection in BGG. I haven't done it yet because I have a number of old games knocking around in the attic that I haven't yet put on BGG. But let's not count chess, backgammon and Go, right? Let's not count them. Let's talk about games from the last 50 years. I have upstairs in the attic a couple of very old games from the 70s. I don't know which one of those is the oldest. So I have an old version of Kremlin, whenever that was. I have an old version of some of the old Avalon Hill games. They're up in the attic as well. So I've probably got games from maybe 77, 78. Yeah. It's another good question from the guild, actually. Actually, I might put, yeah, do you want to put that in green as well? That's going to be 3 different questions on the guild. Yeah, so the guild's going to be busy. In fact, I might not put all of the questions at the same time. I might leave it a few days between each one, but I'm going to put that on the guild so that everybody else can contribute to that as well with what the oldest game in your collection is. And I will go into the attic and I'll have a look through and see which games I've got up there. Right, Harold wants to know, he's backed a €60 2-player card game. He's no problem in supporting small companies and getting a game out of it, but the price is roughly equal to Maracaibo. Now, if you were able to get Maracaibo for €60, yeah, I think it was 70 when it came out, so it's probably going for 60. Right, what are my thoughts? So this is a tricky one for me to answer because the answer, it makes me a little uncomfortable to talk about this on a stream because working in the industry as I do, being a content creator and being an influencer, that word that people hate, means that I don't actually have to pay for many games myself. That is the privilege of the position that I'm in, that if I want to cover a game on the channel, I will generally contact the publisher and the publisher will look at the content that I make and the publisher will generally send me a review copy of the game. That's the position that I've built up. It's a great position to be in and I'm really thankful of the position that I'm in, but it does mean that I'm no longer having to fork out my cash for games. So my opinion on price of games is different now than it was then. Let me go back 15 years. Okay, let me go back 15 years before me doing anything that I'm doing now was a thing. And I was like most of the people watching this video, I used my money to buy games and I got no games for free at all. Would I pay 60 euros for a 2-player card game when I could buy a copy of Maracaibo for 60 euros? The question is, how big is that card game? Are we talking a 2-player card game with 150 cards in the pack? Are we talking a starter set of Netrunner? Or are we talking a massive box with 350 cards in there? It really depends. I don't know. Harold, tell me what the game is, and I can have a look at it, and then I will tell you whether I would have paid 60 euros. But I'll tell you what, if it's a small publisher and it's a game that I like and it's a unique game and I've never seen anything like it before and I want to support a small publisher and you get more than just a couple of decks of cards, then yes, I possibly would. But 60 euros is a lot of money. So it would have to be a very good game for me to want to do that. But it's interesting because, as you say, Maracaibo is 60 euros. But if it was a really good game and I loved it, yeah, it's an interesting one. Tell me more about the game. Tell me more about it. Vicky's just posted in the chat, and yes, no more questions from now because it is 6:30. I am going to answer all of the questions that I've been asked so far. But if you have any other questions for me, please don't ask them today because we need to wrap this up because I need to go and get some food. But on my BGG guild, there will be a thread appearing sometime in about a week's time. Sorry, Colin. Where you can start asking me questions for next month's live Q&A. Right. So, Genway, what's the game table etiquette that's most important to you? Oh, the game table etiquette that is most important for me is the unwritten player code of conduct at the gaming table. And there's so many of them. But probably the biggest one for me is we are all here to play a game and we are all trying to win that game. But that doesn't mean we're going to go out of our way to cheat, right? So no cheating, right? Absolutely no cheating. If anybody cheats in a game that I'm in, give me a situation that I don't know how to deal with. That's one of them. Deliberate cheating, I won't stand for. And I will ask that I won't invite that person around again. I literally won't play games with them again. So no cheating at the table is one of them. But also another thing that really bothers me, and I've had this happen to me, is people who are playing the game and they go, "Oh, I've had a bad week at work. I'm here tonight for games night, but I'm just gonna mess around, yeah, because you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want in this game. I'm going to make stupid random moves and I'm going to just do silly things because I just want to mess with everybody and I don't care." Right? I don't want people like that at the table. If you're playing a competitive game, you should all be trying to win that game. And I'm not saying you should be going cutthroat and out of your way, but the aim of the game is to get the most points or whatever. If you decide because you've had a bad day at work that you're just going to literally do stupid stuff the entire game. Oh yeah, I'm going to go and collect all of these 1,000 gold coins and then I'm going to give them to another player just because I'm in a crazy mood, right? No, what you're doing is you're breaking the unwritten code of conduct at the table and you are actually messing up the entire game and you're ruining everybody else's enjoyment. That's what you're doing. Yeah. No stealing Paul's Jaffa cakes. Yeah, that absolutely, definitely that one. Can we get a video of my games collection? Well, maybe a future goal of the Patreon. The Patreon support has been going down, unfortunately, this month. So I did have plans for a special Patreon video, and I might do it around the summer. But it feels wrong at the moment to be trying to do a push for new Patreon supporters when people are still finding it difficult at the moment. But I know I have a goal for the next Patreon goal. I haven't really announced this yet, and as I say, I feel a bit uncomfortable about saying, "Oh, let's all push for more support," because I don't want people to feel guilty that they can't support in these difficult times. But it wouldn't be a video of my entire collection. It would be me rating my entire collection, because that video would actually take days and days to create. So Maybe at some point in future, but I can't give you a video of my entire collection because I have some games there, some games over there. I have a load of games in the other room. I have 2 cupboards in the other room. I have the attic. I have ones under the table, and there's some downstairs in the front room. So there's games everywhere. And if I did a video of it, unfortunately, some of my games are stacked too deep. You wouldn't actually see some of the ones behind it. So yeah, unfortunately not. Would I be going to cons this year? So cons this year, right. The first one that I may be going to is ManaCon. ManaCon is one of my favorite board game conventions. It's been going for 36 years. It's held in the middle of July. If it is allowed to happen, and if it is safe to do so, I want to go to ManaCon this year, okay? You're not sure about me going, but I want to go. But we don't know yet if it's going to happen. So that, if it does happen and I feel safe in going, that's the first one that I'm going to go to. After that, I don't think UK Games Expo is going to happen. I won't be going to any of the American conventions this year for a couple of reasons. Even if they are happening, I won't be attending the American conventions this year. The only other one that I can guarantee that I am definitely going to is GridCon 2, because it's my own convention, and if I wasn't there, then that would be a bit odd. So yeah, GridCon 2 at the end of November. If you do want to come, then unfortunately we did sell out. We are going to be looking, because I know a number of people aren't going to be able to make it, so we're going to be cancelling some people's tickets, or well, not deliberately, but you know, and there will be some tickets made available in short supply. Patron supporters will be offered first dibs on those. But yeah, I don't expect there to be any tickets for GridCon 2 widely available, because there's about 30 or 40 people that have said to me, Paul, we really want to come to GridCon. We don't have a ticket. So yeah, that's, I think, the only one that I'm definitely going to be going to. If UK Games Expo is happening, I will probably try to go in some capacity, but I won't be running a booth there. Yeah. Do I play any coin games or 18xx games? This is the last question for today. And the answer is no. I have played a coin game in the past. I would play a coin game again in the future. I wanted to play a coin game because I was fascinated by the idea. And there's loads of them out there. And I wanted to play one of them. And I played the Vietnam one. Fire in the... Oh, what's it called? Fire in the Lake. Yeah, I think it's Fire in the Lake. And I wanted to play a coin game, and I now have played a coin game, and I'm not rushing out to play another coin game. And the reason for that is, to play a coin game properly or well, you need to understand not just the core rules of the game, which are not that complicated, but you need to understand what your faction does. It's like any asymmetric game. And I've been avoiding games like Root, for example, as well. So you have to learn your faction, you have to learn what it does, you have to learn how it does it and how it's going to achieve the victory that it's trying to achieve. But you also have to learn and understand what the other parts are doing and what they can do and how they can affect you. Once you play a coin game with people who've played it multiple times, it will be fantastic. And I'd love to, but I don't have the time to put into the learning curve in order to get to where I want to be with that game. I have a dozen other games that I would like to play in preference, but maybe at some point I'll go back to it. 18xx games, I've played many 18xx games. I mean, I was playing 1830 in the late 80s. Late 80s and early 90s, I was playing 1830 along with Civilization, Acquire, you know, and things like that. Axis and Allies. I was playing 1830 back then. I have a respect for 18xx games, but I have no real interest in playing an 18xx game myself. That's not to say that they're bad. I think, you know, for the people who like them, they're extremely good games. I'm just not in that category of games. There are some train games that I enjoy playing. Age of Steam, a lot of other train games I like playing. But yeah, not really into the 18xx games. Anyway, we're all done. What time is it? 6:40. Let's mention the contest again, because I think we only mentioned it once. Right. I'm running a contest. If you missed the contest earlier on, in fact, if you're not watching this live, the contest is running from now until Sunday, the 4th of April. All you need to do is click on the link, which is in the chat right now. It links you to a Google form. And yeah, that link takes you to a Google form. The secret phrase is Jellycat, and somebody's going to win £25 worth of vouchers from Games Law. Games Law is the largest UK's specialist games retailer, and I'll be doing a draw. Patreon supporters get an extra entry into the draw. So thank you very much for your support. And yes, thank you again to all of my Patreon supporters who make these videos possible. If you are watching this and you are not a Patreon supporter of mine, then your support would be greatly appreciated. As I say, it's not been a good month for the Patreon. Thankfully, January and February were good months for the Patreon, so it's not all bad. But yeah, a lot of the content that I'm creating at the moment is only made possible due to the financial support of the Patreon. To give you a bit of an idea, last Friday night, I did a playthrough of Pavlov's House. I really enjoyed the game, and I did the live stream on a Friday night. And you might be thinking, well, hang on a bit, Paul, you did that on a Friday night. You did that in your evening. And I know you're giving up your own time to do the live stream, but surely you did your day job during the day, right? So to do that live stream of Pavlov's House on Friday night, which was not sponsored in any way, took me about 8 to 10 hours of preparation. Okay, I had to get the game, I had to learn the game, I had to practice playing the game. In fact, I took that afternoon off work in order to set the studio up, practice playing the game, check all of the ruling questions and everything else. So when you see a video of me playing through a game and doing a tutorial, there's a lot of time and effort that has gone into that. And that's what the Patreon support does. The Patreon support basically gives me the financial flexibility to take time away from my paid work in order to do the non-paid work so that I can produce that extra content. And things like this, you know, I've taken a few hours off my paid work this afternoon in order to prep for this, get all of the questions and things like that. So that's where the Patreon support goes, if you're wondering. But anyway, we're all done. Please click like on the video. Obviously subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. I will be back next month for another live Q&A. But between then and now, yeah, we have more content. So there's going to be a Patreon only stream tonight, cross fingers, unless I fall asleep in the next hour, of me playing the Middle-earth collectible card game from 1995. That's going to be happening later on today, but that will be a behind-the-scenes Patreon exclusive. Friday of this week, tomorrow, keep an eye on my channel for tomorrow, because CGE, they've got a new game coming out, and they sent me it, and it's under, there's a press embargo. So I've actually done the video for it. It's going live tomorrow. So make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. Keep an eye out, because tomorrow I'll be putting up a video about CGE's new game. As I say, the press embargo lifts tomorrow. Friday, what am I doing Friday? Wildlands Ancients. Again, funded through the Patreon page. It's not sponsored in any way, but I'm doing a solo playthrough of Wildlands Ancients on Friday night of this week. And that's it for this week. There's more content coming over the next few weeks. More Too Many Bones, just loads more other stuff. Yeah, that's everything. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody for the live Q&A. It's been really enjoyable. We're off for bean burgers, onion rings and chips. And yeah, Patreon supporters, I may see you later on for some Middle-earth card game. Other than that, take care everybody. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.